Have you heard of appraisal gaps?
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, I have. Have you?
Have you?
Yeah. I mean, I have to explain those. Of course I have. How the verbiage is if our buyer and seller agree that if home does not appraise for offer price, buyer agrees to pay X amount of dollars over appraisal value, not to exceed offer price. But ultimately, it is if I am offering $300,000 for your house, and it appraises, or I'm going to do a $10,000 appraisal gap. So I'm offering $300,000. I'm telling the seller that I will do $10,000 over appraisal if it doesn't appraise, because we don't know if it's going to appraise or not. We're not appraisers, so we can't say yes it will or anything. All as agents we can do is get as close to a comparable value as possible in hopes that it will appraise for that amount. So with that being said, if your house were to appraise for $290,000, I have to put in, like I said, I would pay $10,000 over. I have to put in $10,000 more. So you as a loan officer are only going to give for the appraisal value, correct?
Yes.
So you're just getting a mortgage for $290,000. Well, I told the seller that, hey, no, I'll pay you for $300,000. So I have to bring that extra $10,000 to closing to cover that. That goes straight to the seller. It does not go, if you waive appraisal value, to the lender. If it were to appraise for $295,000, how much do you think that I would have to bring?
5.
Correct. So your appraisal amount is up to and not to exceed your offer price. So if it appraised $295,000, guess what? You only have to bring $5,000 to make it to that $300,000.
And then I guess at the same time, if it's $275,000, then you only have that $10,000 over, so $285,000.
Yeah.
The total.
Yeah, that you're closing at it's the new offer would be $285,000 rather than $300,000 because it is not to exceed.
Okay.
And it is to, you may have to utilize that whole $10,000. We always hope that you don't have to. Like if it were to come in at $299,000, oh yeah, all I gotta do is bring $1,000.
Yes.
That is what our goal is $1,000 or less.
Yeah.
But we want to, as buyers, we want to be competitive and show that, hey, it may not appraise. We understand that.
Yeah.
I could offer you $1 million for your home. Doesn't mean that that's what it's going to appraise for.
True.
And that's one thing that you have to be careful as buyers and, a lot of buyers agents, you may want to offer more. Well, you have to also take in consideration things to be competitive because that appraisal gap coverage is going to be that competition. So if I'm offering $1 million on your house for, that's listed at $300,000, and all of a sudden, it comes in at, or you say, I'm going to do an appraisal gap of $5,000. And the house comes in at, $295,000. Well, that person's getting it for the list price, but they wanted that $1 million.
Yep.
So you're putting in a false offer. And that will actually deter sellers because it's like, yeah, that may say, they want to offer me $1 million for my house. But realistically, that house is not going to close to $1 million. Not unless all of a sudden you threw some gold in the walls and all this other stuff. But that's one thing that you have to be when you're being competitive. Is you have to be smart. You have to think of what the seller wants. The seller wants the most net value. So an appraisal gap will give them that. The due diligence, if you're waiving certain inspections, I don't agree with waiving any inspections, but at the same time, there's some things that you can say, Like cosmetic stuff, I don't care about that. But these major things I care about. So, you know, as a buyer thinking the mind of a seller, yeah, I'm okay with, you know, negotiating if anything like structural comes up or electrical or plumbing, you know, something like that. Just health, safety, structural, all that stuff. I am okay with that because that's minimum. I'm not okay with, you know, there's a hole in the wall. Let me go replace, you know, this huge section in a wall or, you know, anything like that. But that's a whole different other story. I ain't going in on that.
We'll touch into that next time.
Yeah. But there's a lot of things that you as buyers have to understand for sellers. And a lot of you guys have been sellers. You want to take advantage of the market, well, you also have to compete on the other side. You have to see what these buyers are dealing with. You're in their shoes.
And then you'll have to figure out your financial situation, because if you do an appraisal gap, you still got to understand that on the mortgage side, we can only lend based off of that appraised value. So just
And your down payment too.
Exactly. So we're going to look at the full situation, the appraised value, and then what your minimum down payment requirement is, and closing costs. So review it with your lender, review it with your agent, discuss your financial situation before you start doing appraisal gaps or anything like that.
Or waiving appraisals.
Yes.
Be very, I know we talked about it on last week. Communicate with your lender. As an agent also, communicate with the lender, because you do not want to say something that is not true. Because again, that goes into false offers, false promises. If you can't back it up and show proof that you can back it up, you're hurting your client, and you could potentially be, you know, messing up the deal. So communication, we're all a team. It is all about communication. I don't know how many times we have to say that. It really is. Like we're dealing right now with something that, you know, another party's not communicating. So anything in this world, whatever part, whatever industry, whatever aspect of your life, what gets you through things? Communication. You gotta talk to people. So that's my word of advice for the day, is just communicate.
Mic drop.
Like, subscribe, and
hit the little bell.
bell.
The bell
There.
over
It's
here
there.
somewhere.
It's over there.